So, hi there, I'm Soibs and I'm with Danny Shine. We're doing a newspaper slam this week, the Jewish Chronicle. It's the 26th of August, 2011. So you've been looking through the Jewish Chronicle. You've come across a couple of articles you would like to highlight.
Yep.
What have you got
We'll start with the first one. It's a big headline. Government in chaos over land grab video. Just care to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so that's the government that's been forced into, as the Jewish Chronicle puts it, an embarrassing climb down after a minister described Israel's security barrier as a land grab and said that Israel deliberately took water away from the Palestinians.
Right.
And there's this minister, Alan Duncan, his photo is here, and it says underneath it, Minister Alan Duncan in the now abandoned video talking about Israel's security wall and water theft.
Yeah. So there's so many things going on in that, which again go on in other newspapers in different ways, and it's all kind of underneath. It's kind of hidden, but there. And so most people would just read that, and the manipulation would happen without them even realising it. So the first one I wanted to point out is, they've got this picture of Alan Duncan, and they're making out as if it's like, it's as if there's them and us. There's the Palestinians and people who hate Israel, and then there's us who love Israel. And now Alan Duncan, there's a picture of him. He's he's working for the other side.
He's joined the opposition.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's the whole newspaper is so based on fear, and on they're out to get us, and there's them and there is us, and there's a classic example on the front page and then massive. Well,
the Jews are victims, aren't they? It's just one big victim, and who's bullying us now?
The question, not
Minister Alan Duncan is now joined the bullying camp.
Right, exactly.
Get him.
Yeah. And there's such a big discussion there about victim and victim mentality, and how victim mentality just is part of a vicious circle in our own personal lives, in my own life. I can see in my own little life that I find it very hard to avoid that kind of feeling that I am a victim in the circumstances which I don't like in my life. And we're being trained to be victims by newspapers. Then the other thing is, it's like it blurs the line between politics and political decisions made by politicians and our own personal dreams and philosophy. Some politicians have made this decision to somebody decided where to put this barrier, yeah? And this sort of article is making assumptions that, no Jew or Israeli would ever dream of putting, this barrier in the wrong place to get more resources unfairly for their side. That wouldn't be possible. And to me, that's ridiculous, because I think that it's very possible. It's just human. Today it's very common human behaviour to try and grab as much as you can.
Well, so you're basically asserting that Jews aren't perfect.
I know it's a shocking thing to say. It's a really
shocking
awful
revelation. But
can I just say that I want to say that is only my own personal view, and it does not reflect the view of the Conservative Party. Which is another thing they do in this. They go on about how they say the government has been forced into an embarrassing climb down. You see, the government, that's just a word that describes a fictitious kind of, it's a group of people. It doesn't exist. It's not alive, the government. The government is a bunch of people, right? So exactly, how does the government get embarrassed? And that's another thing. It does that all the time. And then again, it says later on that, his words were just his own opinion. They weren't the government's opinion. The government can't have opinions.
Well, isn't it true that the government essentially put forward a united front, or they think they're supposed to, because, we're in control, this is what we all think, this is the party line, and what they're saying here is, no, this guy stepped out of that party line, and that's actually embarrassing for the government because it shows we're not unified.
Yeah, but that's a whole complete joke. That's another thing that this paper is actually jam-packed with, and all papers are, which is they're not trying to get people to think, yeah? They're actually doing the opposite. They're telling you this is how you should think, right? And they're both sides are doing this. Both sides, I say. Minister Alan Duncan has said apparently that the security wall is water theft. So he's saying this is how you should think, and the other side say no, it's not. Whereas if I was involved in the newspaper, what I would try and do, not that I would necessarily, but I would try and do, is to give as many facts as I can, whatever facts means, and let the reader decide for themselves. But these newspapers train us to be idiots, to never to look for our own perspective on things and have party lines. Later on, when someone from the Israeli embassy says the reality on the streets of Israel was one where Palestinian suicide attacks scattered the limbs of hundreds of innocent civilians across buses and restaurants. Okay, so therefore he's saying that's how it used to be. Now that there's a security barrier, they've got very little terrorist attacks. So there's again more assumptions there. The assumptions that it's definitely the barrier that stopped the attacks. Well, that's not necessarily the case. But also this whole idea, which has been going on for years, which is like my pain is worse than yours, and it's actually a very interesting concept. That it's again a concept that I see playing itself out in my own life, in my house, where people are inflicting the kids are inflicting pain, and they're saying no, my pain's worse than his. He did this, she did that, and this is where you learn it from. I'd like to move to the next article, which I must say. I just was rolling on the floor laughing, as they say in text language. It was just astonishing. If you could just describe that one, please.
Well, the big headline here is, "We encourage our visitors to interact with the displays." That was a quote by Madame Two Swords.
I didn't realise that Madame Two Swords actually... Who is Madame Two Swords? Is there such a person?
Well, she's a lovely lady from...
from Baker Street.
Right.
But seriously, there you go again. You see how it blurs. It's to do with corporations and creating these fictitious entities, and then saying that they've got opinions.
So let's just clarify what's going on here. You got a picture of Adolf Hitler, the waxwork of Adolf Hitler, right? And two blokes either side of him,
and
doing a high Hitler,
and the bloke's face is blacked out.
Yeah, it's blurred, so we can't see who it is.
We can't see who did this terrible, terrible thing.
I love this little cartoon which they've put here, which is you've got a guy holding his hand up in a sort of a Nazi salute, right? And it says here, he's either hailing a cab or preparing to visit Madame Tussauds. But the whole thrust of this article is that staff failed to stop visitors from making a Heil Hitler salute next to the waxwork. What are you thinking about that?
Well, firstly, I don't know about you, but I have to admit, and I don't know if I'm going to be arrested for this, but I have in my past more than once made a German Nazi salute. I put my finger under my nose and put my hand up, and I've done that.
Is that
as a kind of joke thing.
Is that because you're a Holocaust denier? Or is it because you're an anti-Semite? Which is it?
I don't know. I really don't know. Probably both.
Or is it just generally because you're extremely naughty boy?
And there's these guys here doing this. The idea. And it's another. I mean, there's so much richness in this. The idea. It says here, an Israeli mother has described her shock at witnessing tourists making Heil Hitler salutes next to a waxwork of the Nazi leader at Madame Tussauds. Again, if she's so shocked about that, she should come to my house. Just spend a few hours in my house and
having Nazi rallies. Nazi rallies at Danny Shine's.
No, it's just like what the kids do to each other, they do to us, how we react to it. I'm always astonished at how ridiculous. Okay, so someone was making Nazi salutes. Why didn't she just go away? Why didn't she just go away and have some dinner or something? If I was a boss or manager, I'd just get a grip, woman. Get a flipping grip. They're just having some fun or whatever they're doing, or even if it's terrible, I don't know. Now, the other thing that this reminds me of, which applies to the newspaper as a whole and to so many newspapers, is one of the things I like to do is to say, well, what sort of emotion is this evoking in me? This story. So, government in chaos over land grab videos. Again, the emotion is anger, fear. Right, and there's another bit underneath, also fear. The next page, Arab League says UN bid dangerous. Again, fear. Now Australia pulls out of Durban 3, fear. We encourage our visitors, again, this whole thing about Adolf Hitler, it's bringing up the Holocaust again. Every week they bring up the Holocaust, they find some way, and it's again based on fear. It's unbelievable. This paper, you have to get to page 6 to get a remotely positive article. The rest of them are all based on fear.
Yeah, I love that article. Just noticed that one there. It says, Gaddafi gone, will Assad be next?
Yeah.
Dum, dum, dum. Tune in next week to find out whether he really will be next or not.
I just quickly want to turn to a funny article. The article is entitled "The Brit Boom That Made This Mole a Cut Above the Rest." This is to his circumcision. And the Russian rabbi has completed a record 4,500 circumcisions on both babies and adults.
Now, is that a fear thing? Because that's evoking fear in me. It's like a serial circumciser. Did they all give permission?
Well, you see, the babies didn't give permission, did they?
Has he been arrested? Is that what this article's about? Yeah, that's the thing. The babies didn't give permission.
No. It's just an astonishing thing. He says his extraordinary record includes 22 circumcisions in a single day and 36 circumcisions in 2 days.
Oh my God, 36 in 2 days. Did he sleep? Did he eat?
What did he eat?
When did he do them? During working hours?
What does he do?
Sorry, working hours is only till 4 a.m.
What does he do with the little bits that are left over?
Oh dear. 36 little bits.
Anyway, finally, just very, very, very briefly, is the Rabbi I Have a Problem page. Yeah.
So what's this about? This is a page.
This particular problem is very.
Is this this is a question and answer?
It's a question and answer, and there's an Orthodox rabbi and a progressive one. Yeah. And the question they come up with, I don't know if anyone really writes these questions in. Because if they do, I think they should probably go around and arrest them. But anyway, I always thought that Jews don't believe in hell. But then someone told me there is a place called Gehenna, which wicked souls are sent to. I find the whole idea of eternal punishment troubling.
What should I believe? That's the kicker right at the end. Well...
I find the whole idea of eternal punishment just troubling. What, just troubling? Is that it?
Just generally.
Slightly troubling.
Yeah.
Eternal damnation. Yeah. And then,
naughty, very, very naughty souls.
What should I believe? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And if I was the rabbi...
Let me just ask you then, Danny, what should we believe about this? Tell us, Danny, what should we believe?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm afraid I'd have to say to you that you should believe whatever you do believe. So what do you believe about this?
Well, I don't really feel like reversing the interview.
Right.
So back to you.
Back to me, okay. Well,
tell us what we should believe.
Don't believe me, that's for sure.
Well, got out of that one nicely.
And I will be joining you the same time next week with Slam the Newspapers.
Thanks, everybody.